Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting at 6 p.m. for the city of San Juan. May we rise for the invocation? Mr. Arjona, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, thank you for your many and abundant blessings. We thank you and ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. In your name we pray, amen. Face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. Under public comments, we have Mr.
presentations. We have the Planning and Zoning, Sanitation Department, Parks and Recreation, the Library Monthly Report. Everybody's here available, should you have any questions.
If I may, Mayor?
Go ahead, sir, go ahead.
Mr. Cervantes? Public Safety Building, I know it's in your report. It should complete it in November, right? We are in November. What's the holdup? What are we waiting for?
It's just, do you know, Chief, it's just little small details.
We just holding up on the final punch list that architects are finishing up with our contractor, the main contractor. So there's some things that they still need to complete. We just getting some final storage shelves for the armory, and they were fixing some other stuff. We still don't have a signage on the building inside. That's still missing. And some other small things that nothing major. They just finished the gate, security gate. That's already set. So other than that, might be just administrative stuff that they're missing.
First is good.
December 1st is a target date. Yeah, we're still waiting for
The internet
to finish.
is working already in the building.
internet, or it's already in place. We still need to install the security cameras, and that's going to be hopefully by next week. So December 1st is a good target date for us.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Since you're there. I see that we also have 8 new businesses that are opening this month, or have opened this month. Is this people that have in to speak to you, or is it in conjunction with the EDC?
Well, the EDC is involved in some of them. A lot of them are small businesses that go to small suites, like the storage depot. Those are small suites where you have businesses that come in. So the EDC is not really involved in small businesses like that. The big, they're normally involved in the bigger businesses like the Golden Chick, like the commercial plazas. But yeah, a lot of small businesses opened last month, and is in my 5 years with the city, this has been the best year for commercial and residential development. The commercial's been like 3 or 4 times the normal, and residential is twice the normal. So we're going through a boom for development, and I expect it to continue till next year. So my building inspectors are just running around doing inspections.
Awesome. That's
Because
good to
we
see.
have a lot of construction, which is good for the city.
That's right.
It's really good.
Well, thank you for facilitating all these new
Yes.
businesses coming in. The thing is Operation Crackdown. I know that I asked last meeting, and I was informed that we were done. According to your report, there was 32 structures that had been identified, and 13 have been torn down. So what's the status on those other structures that haven't been torn down?
Well,
but are on the
we
list?
need permission in writing from the property owner. What we can do is send another round of letters to see if we can get him to come in. Sometimes the properties are abandoned, and so sometimes the owners die and they don't leave it to the kids, or there's dispute between the children. So a lot of times these properties are abandoned, and nobody's paying the taxes. So eventually we do a tax foreclosure. Whenever we go through that process, the city and the school district and the county, we become the owners. And so sometimes we're able to demolish because we become the owners through tax foreclosure. Otherwise, we have to get something in writing from the property owner giving us permission to.
We recoup any of the expenses?
No, it's
Tearing down?
through, in an effort to clean up the city, we've been offering to demolish these structures at no cost to the owner in an effort to clean up the neighborhoods. And so that's been effective in getting people to give us the permission because it's not going to cost them anything. But we can do another round of letters and see if we can get a few more owners to give us permission. Well, they actually, the workers like demolishing.
Tearing it down?
Yeah, they like demolishing buildings.
Okay.
So they're like ready for, when, right? They're asking
you.
for, yeah, well, that's fun. Demolishing stuff is fun,
Thank you, sir.
yes.
And Ms. Carmen, I did read the memo. You guys are gonna start advertising in the advance on the brush pickup, the
Yes.
schedule?
In fact, I was talking to one of the residents. I need to do a massive mail out, number one, because some of them are under the impression that they can throw leaves with, 3 bags of leaves in the garbage, and that's, it's not feasible because it does ruin the garbage trucks. So I wanted to wait till the beginning of the new year.
Okay.
Also, to rethink the brush schedule, the pickup, especially in the alleys, because I'm finally seeing that a lot of these residents that think they have alleys are really easement, and they're closing them up. So when the guys go in to pick up the brush, they have to back out, and that could be dangerous, because there's a lot of electrical stuff, the water meters, the gas meters and that. So I want to rethink it, and I've been sending to some neighborhoods, I send them letters to tell them to please put their brush in the front, if it's, if that's happening, but. You will.
Jaime, Mr. Jaime, I'm sorry. Mr. Willingham, kudos on all the activities that you all had this past month of October, starting with the Cancer Walk and the Homecoming Parade and the Halloween Festival. You all outdid yourself.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Appreciate it.
to you
Staff
and your
did it.
staff.
Thank you.
In your report, there was one item that is, or you mentioned that everything went very smoothly. I did have a concern, and I'm sure most of the commission did, with the chase that happened during the homecoming.
Oh, yes.
I know Chief has already addressed it with his staff on security measures to take when we do have those parades and events like that. But, yeah, let's make sure that we're all working together. I know that during the Cancer Walk, everything ran real smooth, and we had the fire department out there helping, and we did have the police officers. So thank you to both departments for your help.
Mr. Mayor, also just, Mayor Pro Tem, just to cover that, that we are implementing new security measures on the events. Make sure that our citizens and our kids, specifically our kids, are safe, and that won't happen again.
That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
I have a question for Mrs. Carmen. I don't know if you noticed right here along Stewart Road, the piles and piles of brush. Well, the gentleman there was going along that road and cutting pretty much all the limbs there. Is there any way, how do you inform someone like that?
I stopped him. I talked to the gentleman myself, and he is cutting everything, but he guaranteed that he'll pick up the brush and bring it over to the brush site.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my next question. Now, is he gonna pick it up? Because
He's going to pick it up. If he doesn't, Mayor, I will find a way of taking care of it myself. But
Oh.
I did speak to him, and he did guarantee me that he was going to pick it up and bring it to the sanitation department.
follow up on that,
sure will.
because it doesn't look good,
Right.
but, okay. And Mr. Willingham, one question for you, sir. I know, looking in your report, I thought we were gonna incorporate the 5K with Noche de Paz.
We were that,
Okay.
and looking at all the events that we had and other 5Ks that are around, and there's already one named, the one had the same name. Staff, we discussed to have our own standalone event. We're looking February to have it. And we already have a name picked out, and we'll present it with a logo and stuff to have our own event. The Noche de Paz has grown. We got the cook-off back, so we're really tied up with that. And just didn't want to have a small, mediocre event. Wanted to do something nice, good turnout. And we've identified 2 dates that are in the start of the running season that don't have, well, they have one 5K on the other side of the valley. The other date has no 5Ks that date. So we're working with the company that puts them on. And actually, they made the recommendation to do so. So I think that's what we're we're going to go on that route. So we can focus just on our festival on the 9th. Or actually, it'll be the 8th and 9th.
Now,
It'll start
as-
on the 8th.
As far as the parade, when do you plan to start, like
The,
the takeoff for?
that starts at 6 o'clock,
Okay,
right
good,
at,
good.
right at sundown. It'll start here at, right in front of City Hall
Okay.
and go north to First Street, and then we're going to go
West.
west towards the park. And this year, instead of turning again into the, to the
late
church
or-
area,
yeah.
we're going to continue, we've put the whole festival inside Municipal Park. So First Street will be available, and we'll disband over at the Clinica in that area. And then the floats can continue on and either go north or south on I Road. But they can drop off their children there. We kind of wanted to keep them, pass by the park, see all the activity going on, and hopefully keep a lot of the participants that are in the parade to come back to the festival that night. So that's the plan for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Yes, Carmen, how is the new mixture working for those potholes?
I have, if I may, when we went to TML, Houston, myself and Commissioner Garcia met with a vendor, Road Rescue was the vendor, and he sells asphalt in bags. There's 70-pound bags at $11 a bag, and it takes care of 7 square feet. So I started putting this product, I bought a pallet full. I started putting this product in the potholes. This product is major good because you don't, the only thing you have to do is blow out everything that's in the pothole. If it rains, you can even let it, you know, a little water can stay in there. So you blow out everything, then all you do is pour it. You don't even have to roll it. You know, a car can roll over it and that, and it's supposed to be real solid. Well, we did some streets that we know that have potholes that are not gonna be repaired in the near future. I went out there the last 2 times that it's rained, and I can't even find them. That's solid, and they blend in with the street. So I'm super pleased with this. It's a guarantee for 1.5 to 2 years. So it's to me, it's a cost savings because we're doing the asphalt for the streets that are gonna be repaired, and then the ones that are not and have a little bit of potholes, we're doing it with this product. But it's called Road Rescue. And it's on the buy board, so, you know.
That's good. Supposedly that asphalt would stick to your hand and shouldn't stick to the tire either. So the tire wouldn't pick it up and it becomes like concrete. So that's
We
good.
put some on Sam Houston. We put some, and we're going to repair First and Standard. We're going to do it with this product. Every street that we've placed this material on, I have gone out there, and it is solid. So the department's real pleased with it, and I think the residents will be too.
Any other questions? No? Stephanie?
Yes, the next item is under public hearing ordinances. We have conducted public hearing, consider an ordinance in the first reading for a conditional use permit for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at the proposed Tremendos drive-through located at 2201 North Cesar Chavez Road, legally described as Lot 1 C and B subdivision as requested by Vladimir Rodriguez. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mr. Rodriguez is requesting a conditional use permit for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at the proposed Mendo's drive-through. He's taking over the business that was opened 2 years ago as C&B drive-through located along the west side of Cesar Chavez Road, just north of Sioux Road. The applicant is proposing to sell alcoholic beverages Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 12 a.m., Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m., and Sundays from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. 3 letters went to surrounding property owners, and nobody spoke in opposition to the request. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously.
I'm going to go ahead and open this up for the public. Is there anyone for or against? I'll open this up at 6:20 p.m. Anyone here for or against? Any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Rick,
Go ahead.
one person asked me once regarding one of the permits for alcohol beverages and the hours of sales. Now, I've been thinking about this recently and read the rules and laws regarding those permits. Now, gap that we see, it's on Sundays, it's, the hours of sales is 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Now, what I wanted to propose is, why can't that be, or on an ordinance, and the city can't do it, it's changed to weekdays being the same hours. Now, this would deter any possible drunk drivers in the morning that would cause a problem through our school hours for the morning. If the sales maintain them as usual as 7 a.m. Now, what I'm proposing is changing it to 12 p.m. and being the norm as Sunday is to our already existing permits that we have. Now, that's the only changes that I would want to see, and this person asked me regarding that because they do feel that if it's sold in the morning, what prevents anybody from getting drunk that early and interfering with our hours of operation at schools, pickups, or drop-offs mainly. But that's the only thing that I would wanted to raise regarding the hours of sales for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for or against? Any questions from the members of the commission?
If I may,
Go ahead, go ahead.
what he just mentioned, Mr. Cervantes, is that an option as far
Yes,
as the
you
12?
can, if that's the prerogative of the
At
commission,
noon to.
yes, you could approve it, subject to changing the hours.
Mhm.
I don't know if the applicant will object to that, but that's something that you could certainly, if you all agree, that you can make that a condition.
I think he makes a valid, and I, just last week, I heard about an incident where a high school student was going to school already drunk, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 o'clock in the morning. So I would like to propose, I don't know if the commission is in favor or not, but
What time does Stripes start selling beer or
I
alcohol?
have no idea, I don't drink, so I wouldn't know.
It's normally at 7.
7 o'clock in the
Yes,
morning?
HEV.
7 o'clock, especially those that are going on trips.
And then on
Juniors.
Sundays, it's 12, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Sundays is 12.
yeah, HEV, Junior Supermarket, all the
Yeah.
convenience store.
But it's standardized 7 o'clock.
But we've approved so many of these with this timeframe,
Yeah,
right?
but that is something, if
It's-
if you want to go with the change, this is something that we could do from now on to the future, as we get new applications.
Well, my thing is just, it's Saturday. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, or college football, barbecue, people that, they're packing up, they're going out of town, they want to pick up, some beer, ice it down. I'm not saying that everybody's going to go drink at 7 o'clock in the morning.
You're going to the island, and
But, that's, and now for me, or for us to say, pues, sabes que you can't sell any alcohol until noon, because nobody's gonna stop at that store, and it's gonna hurt that man's business.
don't go to Alamo, or don't go too far.
I understand.
Not really go to Alamo far, they're gonna go to HEB or go to,
You
because
know-
it is a convenience store is competing against HEB on a lot of the products, so, I understand what he's saying, and it's a valid point, but, you also gotta understand that the whole city is already, at the other time, it's only gonna be one individual, so you gotta change the ordinance after this individual to be able, you wanna change it to something like my ordinance on grandfather clauses. Has never been taken action on.
So you're saying it's grandfather then?
Yeah, I support it.
No more questions, Mayor.
No more questions? I'm going to go ahead and close this at 6:25 PM. Is there a motion to approve as is?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Next item is consider adopting an ordinance amending the City of San Juan Code of Ordinance, Chapter 4, Business Regulation by adding Article 411, grease traps, establishing the installation, use, maintenance requirements, monitoring and enforcement of grease traps, and interceptors for commercial businesses generating fats, oils, or grease, providing for penalties, providing for injunctive relief, providing for repealer clause, providing for savings clause, providing for a publication and an effective date on this. Mr. Salinas.
Mayor, Commissioners, The ordinance presented in front of you is to establish a rule in our code of ordinance which doesn't exist right now, so we can regulate the grease traps at commercial establishments, restaurants, industries, schools, restaurant, to prevent that grease from overflowing into the POTW or the collection system and causing problems like what we saw on Cesar Chavez not too long ago, and the issue that we consistently have at the lift station on Olana, which we have to go out there at least every 2 weeks to clean out about a foot of grease that accumulates in that lift station from the lack of regulation on the ordinance, on those grease traps. Right now, unfortunately, those grease traps are regulated through the health department, and that's through the county, so we really have no records on how often they're requiring that those grease traps be cleaned and maintained. So this ordinance will allow us to regulate it through the code enforcement department so that we have a scheduled cleanup and a fee, a fine assigned to it if they don't comply with the ordinance.
Are there any questions from the commission?
So how do they clean it?
It all depends on the establishment. That will be determined by the inspections, but on average, no longer than 3 months. That'll maintain the grease from building up and overflowing into the collection system. In other cities that I worked at, some establishments cleaned them out even monthly because they produce so much grease. Usually restaurants that cook with a lot of grease, a lot of bacon, a lot of fatty substances like that.
What would be the fine that you would fine them?
The initial fine is $1,000. Second violation is $1,500, and it's a warning first, yes, but the initial fine is $1,000. Yes, there is a warning process first for them to correct the problem, and if they don't correct it, then the next fine is $1,000. Then it gradually increases up to $2,000.
The warning is verbal, it's
It's
written
written.
paper?
It's a written warning. Yes.
More or less, what's the cost of cleaning a grease trap, do you know?
It all depends on the grease trap. I know in the other city, it was like $180 that they would charge for a one-time cleanup. But it all depends on who they contract. There's different contractors throughout the valley that they can contract to.
That's a standard, so they shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, there's an outfit out of the West Local area that was charging $80 to clean up the grease traps.
Then if they do it every 3 months, so it's
It-
like
It's
$30.
it's a nominal fee, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have the manpower, Mr. Cervantes?
We'll be assisting as part of that, but the way it gets regulated during the building process, they'll have the guidance to make sure that the proper grease traps are being built. Because one of the things that we don't have right now is what's the proper size. They could come in with a 500-gallon capacity grease trap when in reality they need something like 1,000. So we would set up a minimum grease trap or interceptor size, which would help regulate that and prevent it from overflowing. The larger the grease trap, the further they can take the cleanup. So they put a 1,000 gallon as opposed to a 500 gallon, maybe they can do it every 6 months as opposed to having to do it every three months.
But this would be, I'm sorry. Go ahead. But this would be the initial step as far as when they're gonna put the traps in.
Correct.
But then once you start regulating and checking that it's being cleaned,
Yeah,
then
that'll be my department.
that's gonna be your
Your
department.
department, the
and
utility
you won't have the
department.
manpower.
Yes,
Okay.
And more likely, if you have a problem, where you're gonna identify who's the cause, what restaurant is doing it, or?
correct.
And that's what
We know already of a couple that we have really problems. I just don't want to mention the name in public right now.
Now, if they choose not to pay the $1,000 fine, so what's the next step? Do you take them to,
The court,
yeah?
yes.
Okay.
The fines keep on amounting until it gets to 2,000, then there are civil and legal penalties that we were to follow. That's in the ordinance.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the ordinance does state that you will shut off the water until they comply with.
That's an option. Would be the last thing we want to do. First, we would follow the civil penalty, the penalties that are signed here, and then try to take them to court. And the last thing would be to, yes, disconnect all services.
That's what we're approving.
Correct, yes.
Once you disconnect, you shut them down.
Correct.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
The next item, discussion of possible action on the following matters. Consider the approval of the budget for Economic Development Corporation 2017, 2018. It's on your packet. We have a list of the approved budget. Mr. Cuellar, if you have any questions, Mr. Hoya is here to present on that.
Don't have any questions on the budget?
Well,
It's fairly
just
simple.
Real simple, you couldn't extend it a little bit more or more
The-
detail?
The only thing I was gonna say is we changed our format a little bit. It looks so simple in that we don't show prior year's budget. It went up from 850 to 878 because the previous budget only had 8 line items. A lot of stuff was clumped together. So we're trying to break it down into more line items so it'll make it easier to see where actually we're spending the money. We used to have a line item, for example, professional services was $85,000. That included legal, audit, contracting, and consulting. So we've broken those down into separate line items, so it's so hard to compare the line items in this year's budget to last year's budget. But basically, it's a fairly substantial, subsistence budget, just paying the bills and staffing.
This travel and training, 18,000, is that what the standard that you had?
Like I said, we didn't have a line item for that. It was lumped in together with, it was travel, training, advertising stuff. There was about 6 or things lumped together. But it's pretty much in line with everything we had before. I think it was combined also with memberships before. We're trying to make sure that there's a lot of line items so we can see exactly where the money's going.
Like telephone, 6,500. How's the breakdown on?
That includes the phones and the data lines for the tablets that we have, and then for the landlines we have at the office. We also have a ISP address for the internet.
What have you spent on training up to this point?
This year, up to
Yes,
this
sir.
point,
Yeah.
we spent, I believe, it's about $7,000.
Okay, so how come-
It was 2 trainings. It was the one in Houston and the one in Dallas.
Okay, so right here, you're asking for 18,000.
Yes, sir.
And why is that, sir? Can you
Uh,
explain to me?
That's to cover staff and board members for the whole 12 months. And we're thinking that it's gonna end up being maybe closer to 12 or 13,000, but we're not sure. It depends on whether we decide to go to certain, we're members of Restec, and there's a couple of trade shows that they're putting on that they're asking us to participate with them. It depends on whether we go or not on those trade shows. That'll be brought up on a case-by-case basis to the board and see if they wanna send anybody or not.
So you go about, what, 3 times a year or what?
It depends. Last year, we only went once. This year, we've gone to 2. We are members of Restec, and they think they're pushing for one that's gonna be held in Austin, and then there's one gonna be held in Houston, but those are optional. Restec, if we don't go, Restec represents us. We can give them some promotional material, and they represent it for us because we're members.
Membership, the 12,000, what's the membership on?
We belong to Restec, and we belong to the Rio Grande Valley Chamber, a couple of organizations like that. International Council on Shopping Centers and a few others.
Now, the $2,000 that you, on this line item in reference to the overtime, who's the one that gets this overtime? Is it your 2
That's a
employees?
that's a carryover from the previous year's budget. We've never spent any money on that at all.
Okay.
It's just a carryover from the prior budget in case it's needed for something.
So then the health insurance, the city takes care of that for
Yes,
you,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Everything that you see from where it says unemployment up, see, all of that used to be just one line item. And so we try to break it up so you can see where the money's actually going.
Yeah, but what I'd like to see is the comparison from last year to this year.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I mean,
I think the only problem with that one is that we were for 6 months, so we might not have really a comparison.
That, and we geared up staff-wise. I was hired, and then a few months later, somebody else, and somebody else. So it's hard to compare, and then, like I said, a lot of the line items were lumped together. And so I can give you last year's budget to show you where everything was budgeted last year, but most of it wasn't spent because of that, because we were shut down for part of the year.
so,
Who do we have as an auditor now for EDC?
Last year, we had the same auditor as the city, because the city does our bookkeeping and our accounting, and this year, we're using the same one as the city. So we usually wait for you to appoint an auditor for the city, and we use the same auditor.
We were given EDC was paying the city a certain amount for for the bookkeeping. Are we still doing that, or?
You're doing that.
It's shown on the budget as accounting services, 12,000. Our MOU with the city is for 1,000 a month, per month.
Other supplies, we have office supplies, other supplies. What are other supplies?
We sometimes buy odds and knives, napkins, stuff like that, because we have the ribbon cuttings. We buy the rolls of ribbon, things like that, that doesn't classify as office supplies. We usually take, like, for example, a cake and pan de polvo to the ribbon cuttings, and sometimes we go and buy cutting knives and serving utensils and stuff like that.
And meeting expenses for what?
Sometimes when we have meetings, we provide refreshments for the board meetings, and sometimes we have other meetings in the building where we host others, and we provide refreshments or snacks for that.
I think on the breakdown, I mean, it looks simple and it's a, I guess, easy breakdown, but yes, I mean, more line items as in, advertising $5,000, okay, but that $5,000 is going to what? Copiers, you have here, copiers, 4,500, is that 2 copiers, is that 5 copiers?
It's 2 copiers. The advertising that you mentioned, we didn't spend all of it last year. For example, we had to advertise for bids on the Lexus project, and we sometimes have to advertise for, when people ask for requests of assistance, we have to put an ad in the paper letting people know we're going to consider a certain type of project. So we're advertising the paper. The biggest line item there is the debt service, which is the $350. That's for the Texas Leverage Fund loan that we have and for the joint bond issue we have with the city. And then the one that says city events for $30,000, that's the 2 events that the city help sponsor, the Noche de Paz and the 4th of July.
Okay, any other questions? No other questions, so is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Guess it dies. Okay.
Guys, what I would like, Mayor, and just, I mean, the numbers are there. I need to know, okay, like, and let's just go salaries, 115, okay. Where's that breakdown in salaries? Just so I know to the T, who's getting what, overtime, 2,000, why, who's getting that, advertising, like I said, $5,000, what's that broken down to? There's a lot of things here. It's just, office supplies, okay, 2,500. What are those office supplies? We need a breakdown.
Okay.
I just need to know a little bit more about what we're getting, so we know as a commission what we have and what exactly every dollar is going to.
Well, by when do you need this approval?
Actually, we submitted it in September, but it fell through the cracks and didn't get on your agenda until now. So we adopted it, our board looked at it and reviewed it, and we adopted it in August and submitted it in September.
I think what Commissioner Manunao said, I think it's better if you can break it down more.
Yes.
To see what is gonna be spent the money on.
Yes, sir, we can do that.
I mean, uniform shirts, 1,800, was that 30 shirts, 10 polos? Break it down, break it down.
Make a plan of the travel. We want to, it's not that we want to be so, and it's not your fault, but what this ADC had gone before, the pattern, we just want to be more accountable, have more accountability, be more transparent, especially for our community, so that's what we're asking. Give us a little more detail.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
The next item is consider adoption of a preliminary budget for fiscal year 31, 2018 of the Hidalgo County Urban County Program. With you, you will have what we prepare as the work plan summary sheet with the different entities asking for the monies, and that's the recommendation from the staff. Now, it doesn't mean that that'll be approved. You can always go in and give your recommendation as to the amount of money allotted to the different agencies.
And what we have here in our packet is the recommendation of the staff, that's what you're saying?
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that as we talked about before in the past, is the Boys and Girls Club of Alamo, we kept the same amount of money that was issued out to them last year. So, given that we're going to have a new Boys and Girls Club here in San Juan, it's up to the commission whether to keep it or remove it.
But the other Boys and Girls Club is not on here.
It's not on there. The option can be that, and I forget what the cost was, 35.7?
The issue is with the Boys and Girls Club, the new one, is that they asked the city for 37,500 in funding for each year. If we give the 7,500 from the Alamo San Juan to the new facility, the urban county program does not allow to supplement like 30,000 from the general fund and 7,500 from the urban county program. The urban county program does not allow that. So if you were to transfer the 7,500 from Alamo San Juan to the new San Juan, then you will not be able to give them the
30,000.
the difference from the general fund as per the rules of the urban county program.
It's going to be either funding the whole amount of money through the urban county, or not funding anything under urban county and fund everything through the general fund.
But
Thank you.
wasn't Alamo requesting not to from the urban county?
Yeah, they were requesting from the general fund, not
But we
from
did,
urban
we
county.
did get a letter requesting funding from the urban county program.
Okay, so the letter was
Yes.
for urban county funding.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we do have a letter requesting funds from the urban county program. Now, you don't have to fund them if you don't want to, and those 7,500, we can assign them for street improvements if you want to. Just add the 7,500 to street improvements.
I need,
That, we cannot just let Alamo Coal, and they have provided that for us for the past years. And maybe for next year, consider we might not support them so they can know ahead of time. Because I know that they're struggling also. And I said on that board before, and, they're struggling and we're just dropping them coal this year. I don't think so it's fair. Or some kids might be, even might be Alamo kids, but at one point, they offered that service for us and we were taking advantage of it to a certain extent.
But apparently, kids from San Juan do go to this facility.
and that was my next question.
Yes.
Do you have that number by any chance?
No, but I could get it for
Can
you.
you do that? And
Mhm.
I'm just curious to see
Yes,
how
I
many,
could get the numbers.
how many kids from San Juan attend that Boys and Girls?
Yes, I could get that and then send the information to the city manager that he can forward to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Not on here, can it be discussed as far as the funding for that one? Or no, or is this only for this?
No, I never got a letter from the new Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, that's a question.
My question to council was whether we could discuss the funding for that second Boys and Girls Club, because it's not under urban county. Do we have the funding for that from the general account? Because I know I questioned it before, when we were, during the budget process, if the funding was gonna be available, or if it was gonna come out of urban county funding.
Right. The funding that was supposed to be set aside for the future Boys and Girls Club was going to come out of the general fund. And it was something that was appropriated for this fiscal year to accommodate the Boys and Girls Club of San Juan.
There is funding.
There is funding.
Just from the general
And
fund.
it has been
Okay.
approved.
And
Right.
it was,
So the option here was, do we fund it from urban, but it has to be all of it? Or do we fund it from the general fund, which is all of it as well? So it's either or, and that's what we're saying. These figures, we pretty much copied them from the previous years. So if you'd like to keep them this way, as far as the 7,500 to Alamo, we can keep it that way, or you can lower it. It's up to the commission.
I agree with Commissioner Garcia, and I would like to leave it as this, if that's what they requested, 7,500.
Well, they asked for more, I think, but we normally fund them 7,500.
Well, I know, no, it was 10,000 prior to last year when the previous mayor reduced it to 5 and up to 7,500. But it was at 10.
Yeah, this year they requested 13,500, and we're recommending 7,500 for Alamos and
But I
Juan.
know that letter was intended for county,
Well, if the letters got mixed up,
but the funding amount was the same?
yeah.
Yes.
But I did like the breakdown that you gave us, just tells us exactly what organization we're funding.
And they're all very good nonprofit organizations that do service for the citizens of San Juan.
Single one of them.
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah, they're very good. And there's a lot of paperwork that they have to submit. It's a reimbursement, so they have to provide the services, submit the paperwork, and then they get reimbursed. So it's a lot of work that they have to do to get the funds. And then for the street improvements, we're proposing the San Juan East subdivision except for Andrew Street, to assign the funds for that, to finish paving that subdivision.
In which it needs the repairs.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if everything goes well, because the environmental process should be smooth, because the project before this one is nearby. So if everything goes according to plan, in a year, it'll be
2018 or 2019?
more or less a year from now, the construction will start, if everything goes.
Got that other one,
The
Coil
other one,
under-
which,
Coil
the
for-
2017 funds,
yeah,
is Clark Terrace subdivision?
the Coil Street and
Ye-
all those.
Yes, and that one should be under construction in 3 to 4 months. Yeah, and then hopefully in about a year from now, this subdivision.
Any other questions? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item is considered preliminary final plan approval of the Bosa Acre subdivision being a 2.0 acre tract of land out of Lot 7, Block 9, Block 13, and Lot 5, Block 13, John Clausen subdivision, located approximately 600 feet south of Moore Road along the east side of Nebraska Avenue, as requested by Mr. Romero Gutierrez. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mr. Hinojosa is proposing to subdivide 2 acres into a 1-lot subdivision for Mr. Hinojosa to build a house at the property. The property is located 600 feet south of Moore Road along the east side of Nebraska Avenue. The property is currently outside the city limits of San Juan. Sewer service is not available. However, water service is available in that area. The proposed subdivision, like I said, is outside the city, is within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. A letter from the property owner requesting annexation to the city of San Juan must be submitted prior to subdivision recording. It is noted that the project engineer is requesting the following variances. Number 1, to not have to connect to the city sewer system, and to not have to escrow funds in lieu of connecting to the system. Number 2, to not have to escrow funds for 10 feet of additional pavement, curb and gutter, and 5-foot sidewalk along the frontage along South Nebraska Avenue. And number 3, to not have to submit a letter requesting annexation to the city of San Juan. During their meeting of October 19, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the subdivision, subject to the list of conditions, granting variance number 1 and granting variance number 2, and not granting variance number 3.
So how would that affect us when we annexes that area, if we ever do?
No, the one variance request that was not granted was for him to stay in the county. So if the commission agrees with the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission, I will have to have a letter from Mr. Hinojosa requesting annexation before the subdivision gets recorded. And then right after the subdivision gets recorded, the city will follow up and annex the property.
Unanimous vote, right, on that?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cervantes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
The next item is consider approval of a lease agreement with the Farson Juan Alamo School District for the future Sorensen Elementary School Neighborhood Park. Cervantes.
Yes, in 2016, the city of San Juan was awarded a 160 grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife that needs to be matched with 160,000 in city funds towards the development of this future city school park that will be located at the southeast corner of Stewart and Sam Houston Roads. In 2016, civil engineering students from the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley assisted the city with conceptual ideas for the park. The students gave a presentation to the commission on September 27, 2016, that included features such as a beautiful butterfly garden, community garden, playground and recycled tire playground, exercise stations, basketball court, gazebo, drinking fountain, barbecue pits, benches, and a walking trail. The project is a partnership with the school district, since the land belongs to the school district. In order to proceed with the project, the engineering contract was approved a few months ago. So to get the engineering started, we need the lease agreement to be approved between the city and the school district.
And where are we at with the school district?
They approved the lease agreement. There was some, we went back and forth between both the city attorney and the school district attorney. Both of them are in agreement with what you have in your packet. So if you approve it tonight, I'm going to be checking with Mr. Campos with the school district to make sure that the school board also approved it. If they did, then we're going to start the engineering for the
And the
project.
reason why I ask you, because I'm pretty sure you know Mr. Allen.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so he had asked me the other day, I told him that it was on the agenda for this meeting.
Yeah, he's anxious to.
Exactly, so I
Yes.
think that's another person you really need to stay in touch with, because I know he's a firecracker.
Well, my contact is Mr. Campos
Okay.
with the school district.
No,
If-
but as far
yes.
as, as a courtesy, just let him know too.
Well, I
know.
think it,
Well.
it's, no, I don't mind at all, but my contact is Mr. Campos, and
I
Mr. Campos
understand,
needs
I
to,
understand.
needs to invite him, not me.
In other words, what I'm trying to say is, Mr. Williams, he moves, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes,
All right.
you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him.
Okay, so when do what's the estimated time if everything goes well?
Once I find out from the school that they approved it, we're looking at having a kickoff meeting with the engineer, probably next week. The engineering will take about 2 to 3 months, and then we're gonna go out for bids. Construction, another 3-4 months. So hopefully for summer of next year,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
we'll have the,
good deal.
Well, the city will go for the construction, the base for the construction, not the school.
yeah. Yes, we're gonna manage the construction, yes, because it's a grant, the city got the grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife, and the city is gonna provide the local match. Of course, we're gonna be working with the school district, because they're our partners
Yeah.
in this
Do we have
project.
the MEO already in place or not? MEO, do we have it in place or not? Or that comes later? The agreement,
Yes,
the same MEO?
MOU,
Yeah.
well, it's the lease agreement,
Random.
have not seen one yet.
it's basically the lease agreement that you have in your packet. That's the MOU. Yeah, everything is there. The hours of operation and.
Yeah, but we don't have it signed yet from both entities.
No, I asked Mr. Campos to submit it to the school board. So tomorrow, I'm gonna check with Mr. Campos to see if they already approved it. If they did, then we're gonna schedule a meeting with the,
It was not approved yesterday, I was in the meeting yesterday.
so I need to follow up with Mr.
Unless it was
Campos.
done before, but it was not in in the last meeting, last night meeting, it was not approved.
Was that the facility workshop? Or-
Yeah, but they had some items on the agenda also.
Yeah, but we will not commence the engineering until I know that they approved it over there.
Yeah, that's my other question,
Yes.
like, we don't want to get it started engineering until they approve it.
Yes,
Unless there are some changes there, and
yes, that's, yeah, for sure.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move. Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
The next item is consider resolution to cast the votes for one or more candidates for the Hidalgo County Appraisal District Board of Directors for the 2018-2019 year.
Oh, no, I think you meant,
It's number
Did
D,
I skip one?
yeah.
I don't want to get out of here already.
You need my glasses? You need my glasses?
Yeah. Let me see, I'm sorry. Where am I? Oh, yes. I'm sorry about that. Consider selection authorizing city manager to enter into contract agreement for the lease of tabulation equipment for the special elections in January 2018. This is the equipment for the special election. I know that we talked about it. We brought it before you a month ago, and it was that the county was supposed to go with the election, to conduct the process. However, because they're having elections as well, they don't have machines available. So we have to contract it out to the person that used to work, or the company that used to lease the equipment to the county. So we contacted a couple of companies before you have the lease proposal, the proposals for the equipment, and it's just a matter of approving this company versus going with the county.
Which is the total price of 26,000?
26,000.
Okay, now, as of right now, I know that we have two candidates that filed. Now, my question to you is, if there's a third candidate, is this amount with a runoff too, or do we have to pay an additional?
It's with a runoff?
If we do have a runoff election? Okay, okay.
So, okay, and if there's no runoff, it's still the price. It's still that price.
How does that compare to what the county would charge us?
No comment, man. Don't get me started. It's all good, right? Okay. Any questions for Mr. Arjona or Mrs. Diana in reference to this matter? If not, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just for clarification, we're approving the rental proposal for ES&S Company.
The 20.
Right, the 26,000, okay. Well, let's see, the next item, consider resolution to cast the votes for one or more candidates for Hidalgo County Appraisal District Board of Directors for 2018, 2019. The city is in receipt of the correspondence requesting that the city of San Juan cast all of its votes for one candidate or distribute them among any number of candidates. The city shall determine its vote by a written resolution and submit it to the chief appraiser before December 15, 2017. The city can only cast its vote for candidates' name on the ballot. There's no provision for the written-in candidates. The chief appraiser will not count votes cast for someone not listed on the official ballot. The city has a total of 40 votes that we can vote with. There's 8. We distribute them equally. You can vote them all 40 to one person, or you can vote it, give your votes to different people or just one person. It doesn't, it's up to you.
And because the item requires majority, I know that sometimes there's proposals as far as so many votes here, so many votes there, whatever. If there is a motion to either cast a vote to one person or to a couple of people, we would have to have a second, and then it would have to pass. If it doesn't have a second, then it dies, and then somebody else will make another proposal. So remember that whatever proposal is made by this council would be by majority.
I'd like to make a motion to give all 40 votes to our commissioner here, Pete Garcia, to represent.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion,
If we can have I know you call in a vote.
Extension?
Yeah, please, that would be, that probably.
One
would be more
extension.
So there would be
Abstain?
a unanimous with the, or, 4 and 1 abstention.
Which is the candidate.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Let me ask you, the resolution, should I read it?
Rick.
Council, the resolution, you want me to read it? or-
No, you don't have to read it.
Everybody gets a copy of it?
Yes.
Okay. The next item is consider adoption of an ordinance in second reading for an amendment to Appendix A. And this is under consent agendas. Second reading, under Appendix A, Unified Development Code, Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 11 of the San Juan Code of Ordinances to allow the car wash facilities in the Expressway Corridor District. Again, this is the second reading that was brought up before you guys on the prior meeting, for the first reading that was approved, and this is just the second reading. We need to have a motion.
Okay. Is there anything we need to pull out or amend in reference to the consent agenda? No? If not,
Thing, if I may, Mayor?
go ahead, go ahead.
If
Yes,
the
sir.
only thing that I was looking at on the minutes, and thank you for having minutes, Ms. Diana, but I was looking on the ones dated for June 27th. Were, is that the correct date? Do you know, Miss? You weren't here. Oh, okay. My question was gonna be, yes, for June 27th, you have Commissioner Garcia, or Commissioner Garcia is listed as present and absent on that, at that meeting. He's both member absent and member present. So I don't know if you can go back and correct that one. Because I don't know if you remember if you were here or not, but they have, June the 27th. They have you both absent and present on that day.
His avatar.
And Avatar. Yes, that was the only thing, yes. If you can go back and check on that. They have you both. That was all, Mayor.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
This is on the whole consent section, right?
Correct.
Executive session, the San Juan City Commission will convene into closed session pursuant to provision of the Chapter 551, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirements that meetings be open, Texas Government Code 550.071, consultation with attorney, and Texas Government Code 551.072, deliberation regarding real property as follows. Discussion and possible action regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, Track 1 and Track 2, pursuant to Code, Texas Code 551.072, deliberation about real property, and 551.071, consultation with attorney.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will be going to executive session at 7:05 PM. back from executive session at 7:43. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Gonna make the motion.
You gotta read the item, yeah?
Ben, do we read the item?
The item in executive session read that what else to read the item on the, what was it? It's, the San Juan City Commission will convene into closed session pursuant to the provision of the Chapter 551, Chapter D, exceptions to requirements that meetings be open, Texas Government Code. Consultation with attorney and the Texas Government Code 551.072, deliberation regarding real property as follows. Discussion and possible action regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, Track 1 and Track 2, pursuant to Texas Code 551.072, deliberation about real property, 551.071, consultation with attorney.
Motions to move as discussed in executive, or
Regarding track 1 and track 2.
track 1 and track 2? That's a motion.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting has been adjourned at 7:45 PM. Thank you.